Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for joining me here today. It is a rainy day in January here in Southeast Texas. We've got some storms coming through. The people east of us have some tornadoes on the ground, so we're definitely praying for them over in Livingston. And today, with the rain outside and the weather changing, I want to talk to you guys about a 2024 TBR that I have. Of 24 books to read in 2024, and obviously that's not all the books I read because, as I mentioned before, one of my reading goals is to read at least 75 books, which will be really easy, and I'm sure I'll read more than that. But I saw this challenge going around on Instagram. I think it started with a girl named Lemony Reads and someone else whose name escapes me at the moment. But it started with two people, and their challenge was to read, they did this in 2023 as well. In 2023, they did 23 and 23, and now they're doing 24 and 24. And it's to read 24 backlist TBR titles that you own in 2024. So I'm doing it a little different because I don't own 24 backlist titles to read. And well, maybe if I went through like all of my Kindle books, I might find 24, but yeah. I don't think I really own, because I downsized my bookshelf several years ago, because I used to read like a lot more wide variety of books, like when I was in college and after college. I just read a lot more like non-Christian and different kinds of books. And then I decided that really I wanted to only read Christian fiction because it just seemed like a better way to spend my time. And a lot of the books I read before like weren't necessarily clean. Like they had language and they also had other like not clean things in them, and I just didn't feel like that was a very good way to spend my time as a young Christian woman. And so I wanted to not read that anymore. And then I decided like, well, I could just read clean fiction and Christian fiction, but I decided to really narrow it down to Christian fiction because I wanted to use my time in an uplifting way, and I feel like the best way to do that is to stick to Christian fiction. And so I decided several years ago to only read Christian fiction, and I really like pared down my library because of that. So now my library is a lot smaller than it used to be. And plus I use my local library a lot for books because I don't have the budget to get new books all the time. And so that's another reason my library is a lot smaller than some. So I actually own 12 of the books on this list, and then the other 12 are like backlisted titles that I want to read, but I don't own them. So I have 24 books to read in 2024 that, and when I say backlisted, I mean that they're not new. They're not like published in 2024. A couple of them I think are published in 2023, so they're still pretty new, but backlisted just means that it's not a new release. And probably published in the last year, like if it was published in 2023 doesn't really count, but I'm counting it. So yeah, so my version of backlisted is just not published in 2024. So I have 24 books that are backlisted that I'm going to read in 2024. The first one is Something Worth Doing by Jane Kirkpatrick, which I pulled out all the books that I own, but I forgot to pull this one out because I'm on top of things. So Something Worth Doing by Jane Kirkpatrick. I picked this up last year from Christian Book, but it was published in, the copyright's 2020, so it was published in 2020. I don't know much about this book or this author, but I think it takes place in like the suffragist movement for women, so it looks interesting. I got it in like a mystery box from Christian Book, so I didn't know what it was when it came, but it looks good, so I am excited to do that. So that's number one. Number 2 through 4 is the Three Sisters Island series. So I have books 1 and 2 of the Three Sisters Island series that I want to read. I own books 1 and 2. I don't own the third one, but it is on here because if I start reading the series, I'm going to want to finish the series. So the Three Sisters Island book by Susanna Woods Fisher is on here. I have read from her 2 Cape Cod books, which is The Sweet Life is the first one, and then the second one, I don't own the second one, but it's like something about happiness. I forget what it's called. Something about happiness. There's happiness in there. But they're both really good, so I'm excited about this series. So that is, and these are about there's 3 sisters, and each book is about a sister, and their dad, like, buys an old summer camp or something, and so they each come back to help him get it, like, up and running, I think. And it might be, like, their hometown that they've left, or maybe a place that they used to vacation or something, because I know that there's history there, but I don't know exactly what that history is. So anyway, that looks good. And then the next 2, 5 and 6, are Love and the Little White Lie and Love and the Silver Lining by Tammy L. Gray. These are a State of Grace novel, so they go together. There might be a third one, actually. I think I saw a third one on Instagram just today. I didn't know there was a third one, so I don't have the third one on this 24 and 24 list because I thought it was only the 2, but then, like, I was scrolling through Instagram just today and I saw somebody post about the third one. So I don't know if it's new or if I just didn't know about it or what. But I have these 2 on the list because I got them last year and they've been on my bookshelf. I've never read any Tammy L. Gray books before, but I have heard so many good things about these 2 books on YouTube and Instagram, especially from, like, Oshina's Gotta Read 'Em All. She like, gushed about these books in a couple of videos I saw from her. And if it wasn't for hearing such good things about them, I probably wouldn't have picked them up, especially this one, Love and the Little White Lie, because I hate tropes where people are lying. Like, I do. I'm sorry. Because a lot of times lying is a sin, but, you know, like many sins, we don't always pay attention to the fact that it's a sin and we do it anyway, and I get that. But, like, a lot of times when there's, like, a lie in, like, a book, I usually find it really unnecessary. Like, most of the time when it's a part of the plot, I'm like, okay, you could have avoided so much with just not lying. But I hear really, really good things about this, and I think she's, like, lying about being a Christian to get a job, so that should be an interesting take on things. So I'm going to give those a try because I've just heard such amazing things about them. So the next one, number 7, is The Curiosity Keeper by Sarah L. Ladd. And this one is probably, like, the most true to the prompt of this challenge, because I have had this book on my shelf for probably 10 years, and I've never picked it up. And it's funny because back when I was, like, late high school, I think, yeah, probably late high school, I read several Sarah Ladd books. I read The Heiress of Winterwood, that whole series, those 3 books, and I just loved them so much that I went and I got this book. And I think that it was new when I got it. When was this published? 2015. Yeah, so I would have been in college in 2015. Yeah, so I am sure that I bought this new, and I was so excited to read it, and I think I read, like, the first chapter and then put it down and never picked it back up. But, like, I loved the other Sarah Ladd books that I read, and the back of this book looks so interesting. I mean, it's been a really long time since I've read it, since it's been on my shelf for so many years, but I think it's on, like, they're, like, looking for something, like a treasure hunt kind of thing. I don't know. But, yeah, it just looks so interesting, and I don't know why I just put it down and never picked it up. I mean, in 2015, I would have been in college, so I was probably busy. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, but it's been on my shelf for, it's 2024 now, so 9 years. So definitely have to read this year. Number 8 is The Brightest of Dreams by Susan Ann Mason. I read the first book in this series, and then I want to say I read the second. I read the first book in the series probably a year and a half to 2 years ago, and I really liked it. And then I wanted to finish the series, and I think I read the second one. Like, I vaguely remember the second one, but I don't remember everything about it. But this one was like 50 cents or 99 cents on Christian Books, so I went ahead and picked it up like last year. But I haven't gotten around to reading it yet, so I want to read it. It takes place in Canada, and there's a guy who made a promise. He made a promise to keep his family together, but then he promises, like, his employer to help her daughter or his niece get somewhere, and so he takes off to escort her somewhere. Yeah, it looks interesting. Number 9 is A Winter at the White Queen by Denise Weimer, which when I first heard about this book, like last year, I really, really wanted to read it. It looked so interesting, but I couldn't find it anywhere. Like, it wasn't at my library. I couldn't find it on like Christian Book or like anything like that. I finally did find it on Amazon, but I didn't have it in the budget to buy it at that point. And like I said, it wasn't at my library or anything. So then I put it on like my book list, and I kind of forgot about it for a long time. Well, I didn't forget about it. Like, it was always in the back of my mind on my book list, but it's just like I didn't have the money to purchase it, so I wasn't really actively thinking about it. But then before the holidays this year, some of the authors got together to give like each author, there was like 10 authors or something, and each author gave away one of their books for free every day on like Amazon. So one of the days was this book, so I actually got it for free on Kindle last December. So it hasn't been technically on my bookshelf that long, but it's been something that I've wanted to read for a long time. So now I have it on Kindle, and I want to read it this year. Okay, 10 and 11 are A Seaside Wonder and Wedding at Sea by Melissa Tagg. And these two, I read the first book in the series in November. And I wanted to finish the series, but my library didn't have it, and I couldn't find it for cheap anywhere. I could only find it on Amazon, and I didn't have it in the budget with the holidays to pick them up. But I got some money for Christmas to spend on books, and so I picked these two up on Kindle for like $5 or $6 each with my Christmas present money. So I want to read these in 2024 because I want to finish that series. Number 12 is Heart of the Mountains by Pepper Basham, which actually I just finished this book today. I started reading it last week, and I finished it today. I will tell you guys all about that in my January wrap-up video, but it was really good. I am working my way through a lot of Pepper Basham's books because I discovered her last year, and I really like her. And this is another book that I got with my Christmas money. So it arrived last week, and I started reading it right away. So this is the first book in the 24 books in 2024 that I finished. And it's really, really good. It actually ties in, it kind of sequels her other novel, Laurel's Dream. But I did not know they went together when I bought this book. And I have Laurel's Dream on my list to purchase as well, but I haven't gotten it yet. But now I need to, because when I started reading this book, I realized that it was like a sequel to Laurel's Dream. And I think that you can read it as a standalone because they're not listed as being in a series. Like on Fantastic Fiction, they're both listed as standalone novels. But the two people in this book are siblings to the two people in Laurel's Dream. So the events of Laurel's Dream and the characters of Laurel's Dream are referenced heavily in this book, which I realized while I was reading it. So I'm going to get Laurel's Dream, and it's actually number 13 on this list. I'm going to pick it up. It's one of my next purchases. And so, yeah, I probably should have read those in reverse order, but I did not realize that they went together when I picked this book up. So, yeah. But that's that. Number 13 on my list is Laurel's Dream, which I just mentioned. Number 14 is Return to Boons Hollow by Kim Vogelswarrior. And I read The Librarian of Boons Hollow in 2023, and Returns to Boons Hollow is kind of like a sequel to The Librarian of Boons Hollow. Again, it's kind of similar to Laurel's Dream and Heart of the Mountains in the fact that if you look on like the internet and fantastic fiction, they're not listed as in a series, they're listed as standalones, but they directly relate to each other. So my library doesn't have Return to Boons Hollow, so it's something that I'm going to have to purchase, but it's on my list. I will get it at some point in 2024 because I really want to read it and finish up that story setting. Number 15 is A Song of Joy by Lorraine Snelling. And this is another book that I picked up in a, I got it when I got a mystery box from Christian Fiction last year, but I think it was actually an add-in because I needed like another $1 for free shipping, and this one was like $1.50 or something like that, so I just put it in there to get free shipping. It's actually the 4th book in a series, but I looked up the series on Fantastic Fiction, and I was like, you know what? I'm okay with just reading the 4th book and not starting at the beginning. So it's already on my shelf, and I want to read it since it's on my shelf, and it's been on my shelf for several months. And I think that the whole series kind of follows like one girl or one girl's family, and so this would be like the conclusion of the story. And I feel like I'm okay with just reading the conclusion and not having to go back to the beginning. And maybe if I really, really love this book, I'll go back to the beginning and read the whole thing. But from the descriptions on Fantastic Fiction, I'm like, I'm okay with just starting with the 4th book. So that's that. Okay, where am I? 16, 17, and 18 are all Christiane Hunter books. I don't know the name of the series, but it's Vying for the Viscount, Winning the Gentleman, and Enchanting the Heiress. And I have read all of her other books. I've read her her series about Miranda and her siblings, which is A Noble Masquerade, that series, and the novellas that go along with that. And then I've read the series with the girls who take in the illegitimate children of the aristocrats. There are 3 books in that series. So these 3 books will, I think, finish out her historical bibliography for me. I want to read these 3 books so that I've read all her historical books. She does have her newest contemporary book that came out last year as well, which is Pixels and Paint, and I do want to read that at some point, though it's not on this list. But these 3 books, I think, should finish out all of her historical fiction for me, so I want to read them because I think she's a great author, and yeah. And I did start reading Vying for the Viscount, and I think the first couple chapters just kind of bored me a little, so I put it down. And I talked to my friend about it. You might know her on Instagram. Her name is Ileana, but she runs the Well-Read Wanderer channel on Instagram. She's really cool. You should check her out. I talked to her about it because she likes Christiane Hunter too. And I was like, yeah, the first 2 chapters just really bored me, so I put it down. And she was like, oh no, they really bored me too. But once I got like past the introduction, it was a really, really good book. So I was like, okay, well, I need to pick it back up and finish it, especially because I love Christiane Hunter's books so much. So I'm going to read those 3 this year. Okay, 19 is The Debutante's Code by Erica Vesh, which another one of my reading goals is to read 6 new authors this year, and so she would be one of them for me because I haven't read any of her books, but I've heard some pretty good things, especially about her newer books. So The Debutante's Code is one of her older books, one of her backlisted books. So I want to read it to give her a try as a new author, and because the book looks really, really interesting to me. I think it's a little bit of a mystery. So 20, 21, and 22 are all the Highland Hall series by Carrie Taransky. The Governess of Highland Hall, The Daughter of Highland Hall, A Refuge at Highland Hall. Those 3 books are all in the same series. And I read my very, very first Carrie Taransky in 2023, and if y'all have watched videos from my channel in November, December, you know that I gave The Legacy of Longdale Manor 5 stars. It was just really, really good, and I was like, I want to read more of her books. So this is one of her backlisted series, and it looks really good. So I am excited to give it a try. So those are those 3. Number 23 is The Girl Who Could Breathe Underwater by Erin Bartels. And I have heard really, really amazing things about Erin Bartels, specifically from Katie over at Paperbacks and Ponytails. She's had such nice things to say about both the books and the author, so it made me interested. And I looked up her books on Fantastic Fiction, and this one looks really, really good. So it's been on my TBR since last year, but I haven't gotten around to it because like Returns to Boone's Hollow and Winter at the White Queen, this one is one that I don't think I can find it at my library. I'll have to check again, but the last time I checked, I don't think it was at my library, so I think I'm going to have to get it. I think I'm going to have to buy it at some point to read it. So, it won't be it'll probably be something that I read later on during the year, because, I have to budget out books that I buy, but yeah, I am going to read it at some point because it looks really good, and I've heard such great things about that author. So, number 2020... I just said the year 2024. No, number 24 on the list of books to read in 2024 is A Rebel Heart by Beth White. So I read a series by Beth White earlier in 2023 that was, one of them was called The Creole Princess, and I forget the name of the other two. But it was a series that followed a family through like different generations, and it was so good. I really enjoyed it, so I wanted to read more of Beth White. And so A Rebel Heart, I believe, is a standalone of hers. It might be the first book in a series, though. It might be the first book in a series. I don't remember. But yeah, I want to give some of her other books a try. So I want to give that one a try. And I think it takes place in the Civil War, if I recall correctly. But yeah. I think the rain's picking up out there. So yeah, I want to give it a try. And I'm going to go ahead and close up this video because I think another round of storms is moving in and we've had some power surges. So I want to finish this up before we have a chance to have another power surge. And thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you. Oh, if you guys are doing this challenge, whether you're doing it more traditionally with like actual backlist books that are on your shelf, or if you're kind of doing a hybrid of it like me, let me know in the comments. Let me know some of the books that you're going to read, or if you have opinions on some of the books in this list. I will see you next time. Thank you.